If all you do to work on your core is crunches, you're actually really missing out on a lot of benefits to your core workouts. In this video, I'm going to tell you my reasons for why crunches are not the best core exercises to do, and tell you which core exercises to do instead if your goal is to have a very strong and stable core so you can do all the things that you love without ever having lower back pain ever again. Before we get into these exercises, let's just quickly dive into the anatomy of our core here. Our core doesn't just consist of our six-pack abs that a lot of us might mistakenly think. Our core musculature actually consists of several layers of muscles. You can argue that the core also consists of your back and your hip muscles as well, but in this video, we're just going to stick with the key core components for now. So first, we've got the most superficial, or the uppermost layer that we all know of and think of when we think of our core muscles, and they're called the rectus abdominis. Our rectus abdominis is a six-pack ab layer that we see on the very fit and lean people in fitness magazines. The rectus abdominis, while it is good for looks and aesthetics, actually doesn't do much in terms of helping us stabilize our core to help us prevent lower back pain as much as the other core muscle layers that I will be showing you and talking to you about. This is because the main function of the rectus abdominis is to help us flex our trunk forward. So these crunches that I was talking to you about that a lot of us like to do at home or at the gym, well, they can certainly target our rectus abdominis muscles very well, but that is pretty much all the benefits you're going to get with doing a million crunches. So unfortunately, just doing crunches alone won't help us much in terms of helping us improve our core stability, and therefore doesn't help us with overall core strength as much as we would think. So what does help with our core stability? Well, underneath our rectus abdominis muscles are our internal and external oblique muscles. These muscles work together to hold our torso together and help us to rotate and side bend our torso. Our internal and external oblique muscles originate from the bottom of our rib cage down to our hip bones with opposing orientations with their muscle fibers. Because of the structural anatomy of these muscles, they contribute to spinal stability more so than the rectus abdominis muscle. And then as we keep peeling that onion, we've got our innermost layer, the transversus abdominis, which we can also call our corset muscles. These muscles, like a corset, are a flat piece of muscle that run from our lower back all the way around to the front of our rib cage. Because it is wrapping around our entire torso, it does a super important job of helping us maintain spinal stability, and it also helps us to keep our internal abdominal pressure along with our pelvic floor muscles, which are another super important set of muscles. Because our transversus abdominis muscles wrap all around our torso to offer us that strong core stability, we need it anytime we're breathing deeply in and out, and as we move around in day-to-day life doing things like opening a door, climbing the stairs, or reaching for a glass in our kitchen cabinet. So now that we have a better understanding of the anatomy of our core musculature, here are my favorite core exercises to do if your goal is to have a very strong and stable core and not ever have to worry about having lower back pain. So the first exercise we're going to go over is the deep diaphragmatic breaths. I know that this sounds very rudimentary, but bear with me here. With breathing, it is actually very important for us to learn the proper technique on how to actually use our diaphragm to inhale and exhale properly. Because if you're normally a neck or chest breather, a lot of times you might not have that realization of how you're actually using your rib cage to breathe in and out, and as a result, you might have trouble contracting that core. What you're gonna do is lay on your back to start. Have your hands on the side, or you can have your hands around that lower rib cage, and basically you're going to be doing deep breaths in and out. So when you're inhaling through your nose, you want to be expanding through that lower rib cage and expanding the entire chest and your belly area, inhaling and expanding everything. When you're exhaling, you want to be thinking about closing everything in. I'm probably gonna stop talking. So hands at the lower rib cage, inhale through the nose and exhale through the mouth. Hands are around that lower rib cage. You're inhaling and thinking about expanding from that first, and then when you're exhaling, you're thinking about this closing in. And again, you're thinking about those hip bones. You're pulling them together as you exhale. That's how you control those deep diaphragmatic breaths. If you have a lot of trouble doing this, and you feel like you're actually tensioning the neck a lot when you're doing that, you probably want to be seeing somebody to see if you can correct that technique so then you can get that core, you know how to engage your obliques, your side abs, and then your transversus abdominis. So that's your first exercise you want to practice. What you want to be doing with reps and sets, I usually like to prescribe 2 sets of 10 with that, deep diaphragmatic breaths. So the second exercise is the front plank. I like this exercise a lot to work on core stability because there are so many different variations you can do depending on where your fitness level is at or how strong your core currently is. The first variation we can do with the front plank, the most simple one, typically people like to do this one. So you're on your elbows and then you're on your toes. You want to make sure when you're doing the front plank, you're not hiking your hips like this and you're not completely slouching down like that and arching your back. So those are 2 super common mistakes. As people get tired, they like to kind of go like that and really stick their butt up. So when you get to that point, you probably actually want to just stop and reset everything because you're just straining the back at that point and there's no point in doing that. So this, it's a compensation, and this, you're actually straining your back quite a bit when you're doing that. Holding a plank, if you can, you want to be holding it for about a minute or maybe even 2 minutes if your core is strong in proper form. If this is too hard for you, you can do it like this. This typically it's a little bit easier, and again, you want to make sure you're not completely arching like that and you don't want to be sticking your butt up like that as well. So that's a regression of the other one that I just showed you. If that is too easy, and if the first one that I showed you was also too easy, what you can do is different variations. So if it's too easy, feel free to even lift up one arm and hold. And if you're able to do that, that's great. And you want to try not to shift your weight over too much as you're holding that. Another variation you can do is lifting the leg like this. So that's also another good variation to do while keeping your core, and don't shift your weight around. And if you can hold it for 1 minute, then amazing. So that's the front plank for you. Hold it for about 1 minute to 2 minutes. You can play around with which variation you like the most. And that's really going to help you with that overall core stability. So after the front plank, what you want to do also is the side plank. Because a lot of us in our day-to-day movements, we tend to go front and back, but we don't really work the lateral parts of our body. The side plank is going to help you a lot to work on that side stability of your body. And that's going to work on that core musculature that we might neglect. Like the front plank, this also has the variations that we can do. The first variation, which is the easiest variation we can do, is on your elbow and on your knees. So the first variation, you want to have your elbow directly underneath your shoulder. So your knee, hip, torso, and shoulder are in one straight line. You want to be holding that, thinking about using your side abs and also the side of your hip. So I'll turn around later so you can see that. You want to hold it for about 1 minute to even 2 minutes if you can. So that's the easy variation. From the back, same thing, on your knees. You want everything to be in one line. The common mistake that I tend to see is that some people might be kind of around here when they're lifting up. So that is no longer in one straight line. So you want to watch out for that. Same with the other way. So a lot of people, sometimes they could be like that and you're arching the back. Everything is straight, hip and side abs, and you're going to hold. And then another variation you can do to make it a little bit harder on your foot, like so. So exact same thing applies. You want your whole body to be in a straight line. Your foot is aligned with your hip and it's aligned with your shoulder. And then you want to hold it right there. 1 to 2 minutes would be great. If that is too easy for you still, feel free to either lift up the arm like that, or if you want it to be even harder, let me just take a breath here and I'll show you. You can lift up the leg like that. So with this one, you're gonna work your side abs, you're gonna work your hip, and you're gonna work the other hip as well. If you could hold that, that would be amazing. I personally probably can't, probably need to work up to that. So that's another option. The last option I'm gonna show you is gonna be on your hand. So same thing here applies. You can be on your hand doing that, like a side plank. And if that's okay, you can lift up the leg. Okay, so that's the side plank with all their variations. So the last one is an exercise that's going to put all that core stability work into more functional movements. So with this exercise, you want just one dumbbell. Feel free to have a way heavier dumbbell if you feel this is too easy, but you definitely just want it on one side because I want you to be working your side abs with a very heavy dumbbell on the side. In my clinic right now, we don't have very heavy dumbbells, so I'm just gonna stick with a light one just for demonstration purposes. You're gonna do a squat, down, and then into a curtsy lunge. Come back. Squat, curtsy. Squat, curtsy. And you can also do the other side. So with sets and repetitions for this one, I actually like to go squat, curtsy, squat, curtsy. That's 1 rep, and you want to do about 8 reps for this one. You feel free to do 2 to 3 sets. So the purpose of this is just getting the core to be stable as you're doing these movements, and you have one dumbbell on one side, so your side abs have to work really, really hard to help to stabilize your core so you can stay upright as you do these movements. If you learned anything new today, please hit the like button below. It doesn't cost you anything, and it will motivate me to keep making content for you. And if you want to see more of me, or if you want to see more of Cinnamon in future videos, subscribe to my channel and drop a comment to let me know that you want Cinnamon back. I would love to bring our special guest back into my videos if you want to see her again. And if you don't know who Cinnamon is, you've got to check out this video here. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and until next time.